Welcome back, Truth Seeker. January 12th, 2019. This is episode 47 of the Patreon podcast. Supposed to be yesterday, but yesterday something came up and I missed the normal time, so we're making up for it today. Going to cover everything that's happened in the news yesterday and today so far. Before I get into this, I just want to let people know, yes, Gematria.com is down. I put up a video about it earlier today. Apparently, a lot of people didn't see that video because I continue to get text messages about what's up with Gematria. It is temporarily censored. There is a Sandy Hook rights group that went after Derek's page, and they got the page taken down. It's temporary. Derek had to delete a post, and it's supposed to be reinstated. Again, today's January 12th, and the Sandy Hook group got Gematria.com taken down. If you follow my work, if you've read my book, you know about 112 and Sandy Hook. Again, Sandy Hook and Gematria, just using the alphabetic order, equals 112. They said Adam Lanza weighed 112 pounds when he shot up the school. And if you look up Adam Lanza's birthday, it's April 22nd, the 112th day of the year. It's not an accident that Derek's site was taken down by a Sandy Hook group today. It's further evidence of what we've been exposing. The cabal, the people who control the media, the government, the tyranny of this world, they do everything by this code. And Derek's website can be the latest example. And in addition to that, it's been going on for months now, but I'm seeing more and more people, notifying me that all of a sudden they can't view my blog, Free to Find Truth. It's now blocked by their web hosting service. They're going to public spaces and they're using Wi-Fi and they find that my website's blocked. Major upsurge in these comments in recent days too, and it's already been bad for the last year. For the last year, my blog is getting about 1/3 the traffic it got a year prior. It was really starting to take off. For a long time, my blog traffic crawled. About a year, 2 years ago, before the censorship got really heavy, it was up to about 30 to 50,000 views a day, which is pretty good. I mean, for at least for what I was doing. I was used to somewhere below 10,000 views a day. But for the last year, the views have been under 5,000 a day. And no doubt that's because of the censorship. Again, this knowledge is so important. People need to know about this. There is a real effort to suppress it. And I can't remind enough. If you have not picked up my book, you have all the reason in the world to go out and spend that $5 to get the 800-page book that has everything in there that's written for a beginner. If it gets taken off the web, you'll have the book. It is an ebook. It's the only way you can distribute a 800-page book for $5, but most of you have printers and copy shops in your town. You can take the book to your printer, to your copy shop. You can print it out, and then you'll have a physical copy that you don't have to worry about being censored from the web. $5, people. Took me 5 years to write. So anyway, wanted to address that. The censorship. Gematria is supposed to go back up. Looks like his web hosting service is crawling and taking their sweet time making it happen, but it should go back up today. After this video is over, I'm going to put a link down in the comments. There's somebody uploaded. There's a file that I was going to show you my desktop. You can't see my desktop right now. There's a file that if you download, here, let me switch over to my desktop real quick and just show you how this works. There is a file that if you download, what it'll do is it'll load up Gematria.com. This isn't actually from the web. This is from the file. The only thing that's a bummer about this is, like if you put in a word and you want to click on it to get the prime number relationship or whatever, it doesn't work while the page is down. So you lose that functionality, but you still get the calculated values. So it's better than nothing. And I'll put the link down below the description of the video after I'm done. So you can get this file. Downloads in a second, very small. Unless, of course, the website's back up and running. And before I get into this, I just want to say, if there's any people out there that are good at building websites, maybe get in contact with Derek, maybe ask if he's willing to give out the code for Gematria.com. I think what we should do in response is, open up as many websites as people are willing. And I'll even ask Derek if he'll help me do this. I'll host a website too. I think we should all just start hosting our own gematrianator.com. And then that way they can't take it down, or at least not as easily. Not if there's 100 of them in existence on 100 different websites. There has to be some sort of response to this, you know. We can't let them tamper with us this easily. So, anyhow, let's talk about what's going on in the news. And again, I want to come back and revisit this Jayme Closs story. I put up a quick video yesterday talking about the significance of 87. Supposedly her family was murdered and she disappeared October 15th. And then she was found January 10th, 87 days later. And yes, the media has been using the number 88. If you count the full span of days, this is a span of 88 days. But from October 15th to January 10th is 87 days later. And the 87 is obviously important in terms of what has been reported since she was found. So she was discovered January 10th. The headline broke late. They said there'd be a press conference January 11th. That was yesterday, Friday. And in that press conference, they put out the name of the supposed killer who had kidnapped the young girl. And they said his name was Jake Thomas Patterson, which in Gematria sums to a 111, like the date January 11th, 111. And the name Jake Thomas Patterson is also 87, like how she was found 87 days later. Now, the spokesperson for this entire story was Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald. Chris Fitzgerald, 87. If you haven't seen this man's commentary, just do a quick web search, listen to what he had to say. He said, this is a great news story. This isn't like the fake news. Those were his words. He said, this isn't like the fake news. I mean, why even say that? This is the fake news. This is the distraction news, you know. Another reminder that the only missing girls in the world that matter are white girls. You ever heard about a missing story of a girl that wasn't white in the mainstream media that was a top news headline? Never. Never. There's missing girls all over the place in this world. You only hear about it occasionally, and if it's a missing white girl. But anyway, the police officer's name 87. The supposed killer's name 87. What the police officer said is that this was great news, and it was the result of everyone's prayers. It's the result of everyone's prayers. And of course, prayers equals 87. And notice when the police are behind these, you know, shootings that are reported as real tragedies, and maybe in some cases they are, but the police are still behind it. You know, the police will get on and they'll ask everybody to pray. We need your prayers. I want all the people out there to think about how the government does this. You know, ask for you to pray. Ask for you to believe in the government. And I want you to think about the history of this world and, you know, authority ruling over people. And I want you to think about the tactics that have been used to rule over people by authority, from religion to government. You know, and the commonality between religion and government is oftentimes what they ask of the people under them is to put their power outside of themselves. You know, they don't want you to be action-oriented. They want you to do things like get on your knees and fold your hands and pray, you know, and believe and trust, you know, whether it's the preacher in his get up, or, you know, the president in his suit, the politician in his suit. I just want people to think about these themes. I want you to think about Washington, D.C., what used to be the Catholic colony between Virginia and Maryland, like Virgin Mary. I realized when I was a young child that my prayers weren't being answered. I was raised a Lutheran. I was told to believe. To my mom, it was real important. And I just realized, you know, I'd pray every night, pray for my parents to not fight every single day, you know, be so stressed out, angry all the time, you know, for not all the bad stuff to happen in the neighborhood I was growing up in. Nothing ever changed. Nothing ever changed. Probably prayed for, you know, from the time I was 5 until the time I was 12. Around the time I was 12, I was just like, you know what? I think I'm done praying. I think I'm done believing. This isn't the way it's supposed to be, you know? You want to make your situation better, you got to get up and do something. You got to take action. Not pray, not wait for somebody else, not expect somebody else to come take care of you, you know? So anyway, you know, this story was supposedly the result of everyone's prayers. And if you're the person out there saying, well, I prayed many times and had my prayers answered, how many times have you prayed, be honest, and your prayers weren't answered? You know? Be a realist. And also, just to be clear, I'm not saying that you shouldn't pray. I'd be lying if I said I didn't still pray sometimes. You know, sometimes what else are you going to do? It's like, well, I'll just cast one out there just in case. You know, like the person who keeps buying lottery tickets. But I know a big problem in this world is so many people are waiting for somebody else to come save them. You know, so many people are waiting for Jesus to return. Then it'll all be right. Imagine how many people went to their grave waiting for Jesus. Probably hundreds of millions. Might even be billions. So there's some other things here that are interesting about this story. The name Jake Thomas Patterson, the supposed killer, just using the alphabetic order, his name sums to 231, and they said he's 21 years old. If you add 1 through 21 together, it equals 231. Of course, it also equals 111, like how the news broke on January 11th. Jake Patterson has that infamous 47 in it, also a 79, the word murder 79. He's supposedly a murderer. Jake Patterson, 38 and 115, like killing. So his name has some very interesting numbers. I was looking at this county where this happened, Behrendt County. Behrendt County. And it looks like Behrendt County was named as such on March 4th, 1869. Interesting date. That's a date with 94 numerology. The name Behrendt equals 94. All throughout this nation, you can look and see that cities were named, established, founded on the most perfect dates. And again, this is Masonic ritual to do things this way. Letters, numbers, dates in the calendar year. Just like how July 4th, holiday equals 74, Independence Day 74, Masonic 74, English 74, Gematria 74. So anyway, Behrendt named on a perfect date. If you look up the birthday of Jayme Closs, let's see, I got it here. Where's it at? Jayme Closs, her birthday is July 13th, right? She disappeared October 15th. Check this out. This happened in Behrendt County, right? From her birthday, July 13th to October 15th was 94 days later. How about that? How about that? Must just be another coincidence. And don't forget that when you write out 94, it sums to 147, like Freemason, like conspiracy, like police. Behrendt County, look at the overlap with Behrendt County and Freemasonry and Behrendt County and secret society. And again, Freemasonry runs the show. Freemasonry controls police, media, government. The girl was found in Clare Acres. That's how you pronounce it. But notice in our most pure cipher, 58, like Behrendt County, like Freemasonry, like secret society. The name Jayme Closs, we talked about this when she disappeared. When you flip the alphabetic order around, is also 58. This you can search this clip right here from NBA. Sheriff describes Jayme Closs' discovery as remarkable and awesome. This is where he said that it's not fake news. I mean, why even say that? It's not fake news. It isn't? I'm pretty sure it is fake news. I am pretty sure this entire story is fake. If it's not faked, it's probably all contrived and carried out by the police department. Probably got an MK Ultra subject in the 21-year-old. Who knows what else is going on? And I noticed NBC's clip was a minute 58 too. Minute 58, like how Barron County is 158, like Freemasonry. Like how the Jesuit order formation dates August 15th. Jesuits and Freemasons, the Scottish Rite. That's who runs this nation. It's your two-headed monster. Jayme, her full name is Jayme Lynn Kloss, 187. 187. And some other numbers really jumped there too. You know what? I just mentioned the Society of Jesus, 187, 191, in light of the Jesuit thing with 158. Society of Jesus, 191, 187. You know, maybe it's just another coincidence. But what it reminded me of is this Fox News headline along the way, without a trace, with that sinister, you know how they kept using this picture? I was like, what does this picture communicate? I mean, without a trace, though, 187, like her full name. Jayme Lynn Kloss, 187. 74, the big Masonic number. And then her July 13th birthday, of course, you know, 13/7, like 137, government 137, authority 137, 137, the 33rd prime, masonry, secrecy, order, federal, police, all 33. In Hebrew, Kabbalah equals 137. That's where this whole thing comes from. Freemasonry based in Kabbalah. Kabbalah has the belief God created the world by merging the letter with the number with the word. These people playing God over our lives, distracting us every day, misleading us every day, telling us what to think, what to believe. By the way, CNN's headline, which they kept up all day, she says he killed her parents, 137, like her birthday. And this is just a thought. Doesn't mean it's true. I was just looking if any of the Milwaukee sports teams had a connection to this number, because sometimes these stories, somehow they fit into sports riddles. And Brewers had a good year this year, but I noticed Milwaukee Bucks is 87. I was like, could it be? Could it be somehow related to the world of sports? I'm just gonna keep an eye and just see what happens with the Milwaukee Bucks this year. You know, maybe we end up seeing Jayme Kloss on the court at a playoff game. Jayme Kloss, you know, shooting a half-court shot for $1 million and swishes it. You just never know. So this is just why I like to document and think about things. I say, well, it's a maybe. I'll keep an eye on it, see if something plays out. Maybe 87 days later, you're hearing about Jayme Kloss hitting the $1 million free throw or something. You just never know. So that's why we watch. Now, speaking of governments and religion and controlling people, here's another story going on. You see the whole truth community. The whole truth community, you know, they're just talking nonsense. They're talking nonsense. They think this is a real sign from God. This is God's work right here. This is prophecy. It is not. All of this stuff is being contrived to, you know, take advantage of the religious people of the world, which are the majority. You know, everyone knows about locusts and prophecy. I mean, even Hollywood makes movies about it. But what did I say back in September when the story was circulating about the unblemished red heifer? And don't be the person in my comments to say that story doesn't matter because it was genetically modified. If you guys are going to leave a comment that makes sense in light of what I'm saying. Are you listening to the words coming out of my mouth? I'm saying they're contriving prophecy to fulfill their agenda. So, of course, a man-made red heifer, you know, doesn't really fit in with the prophecy. You guys leave these comments like I'm arguing that. It's like you don't hear what I'm saying and you're just like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with most of you who leave comments. But anyway, back in September when that story was circulating around the time of September 11th, I made a video about what they're doing and why we need to look out for 2019 and how 2019 is going to be a year that the cabal, you know, the Zionists who have trained the world to hate Islam through their media that they control, why this is going to be a bad year for Islam and the world. And I said it has everything to do with 2019, emphasis on 19, because of the Quran code. That's how I picked up on this. The Quran Code, again, came out in 1968, the same year that the plan went into motion for September 11, 2001, which was an agenda about turning the world against the Islamic people more so than it ever had before. And again, in 1968, World Trade Center construction began. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones, and a few other things that pertain, such as 2001: A Space Odyssey coming out. That was also the year the Quran Code was discovered, 1968, supposedly. And I guarantee you that discovery was all part of this planned agenda. Almost every relevant number in the Quran is divisible by 19, including how many chapters are in the book, 114. 114 divided by 19 is 6. Remember on 9/11, they said there were 19 hijackers. The word chaos has gematria of 19. The Masonic motto is order out of chaos. Notice the gematria of locusts, 19. Locusts, 19. This comes at the very beginning of 2019. What are the odds? What are the odds? Seriously. Especially in light of what I said in September. You know? In the Bible, the plague of locusts is unleashed by God on Egypt. And again, I covered this yesterday, but just as a reminder, I talked about how it's interesting that from Cairo to Mecca is a 19-hour drive. I mean, what are the odds? So, again, as a reminder, the news media put out this story yesterday, January 11th. One publication came out with it January 10th, but even in like Newsweek, which covered it January 11th, it seems that everyone's sharing these tweets to document when this began. I haven't found a tweet that goes before January 7th. So I'm assuming that Monday, January 7th is the day this began. The locusts showing up in Mecca in amazing numbers. And from what I've read, this has never happened before at Mecca. Locusts have never been at the site of Mecca. This is unheard of. You know, you'll see trolls in the comment spam. It happens all the time. Do some research. Everything is reporting that this has never happened before. So, of course, recorded history only goes back so far, so never say never. But in the time of recorded history, from what I've read, there's no evidence this ever happened. And there's some real interesting things about January 7th, 2019, beyond what I covered yesterday. Again, God and Egypt have gematria of 17. God unleashes the locusts on Egypt in the Bible for not freeing the slaves of Israel. January 7th, 1/7. God 17, Egypt 17. You can also write that date 7/1. God does have a gematria value of 71 in the English extended cipher, which pays tribute to the Hebrew order. And the name Zeus with the alphabetic order is also 71. So God has connections to the numbers 17 and 71. January can be expressed, again, 1/7 or 7/1. January 7th, 2019 is also a date with 47 numerology. And the name of the great mosque at Mecca, which I can't pronounce, Masjid al-Haram, maybe. The name does have a gematria of 47. The locusts were all over this building on this date, 47. In Hebrew gematria, the name for God from the Old Testament, this happens in Exodus, the story of the locusts. The name for God, Elohim, in Hebrew has a numerical value of 47. Elohim in Hebrew is 47. So 47 pertains to God. If you flip the alphabetic order around, the name of this mosque has a gematria value of 88, which is interesting because Exodus, just using the alphabetic order, is 88. And the locusts are unleashed by God in Exodus. Some headlines are referring to the locusts as crickets. They're from the same family. They're close to the same thing. Crickets with the alphabetic order is also 88. So if you see the headline with crickets, it fits in here to the riddle as well. 88. And the thing about 47 and 88 is they're both numbers that are symbolic of time. The word time with the alphabetic order is 47. The number 88, it is 4 circles. 88 is 4 circles. Circles, like time, cycles, and circles. But 4 circles, each circle has 360 degrees. 4 times 360 is 1,440. Every single day, there's 1,440 minutes. And in the Islamic calendar right now, we're in the year 1440. See if I can pull this up here. So the Islamic year 1440, if I remember correctly, did begin September 11th of 2018. So right now we're in the year 1440. Let's see if I can confirm that it began September 11th. When did the Islamic year 1440 begin? It began approximately September 11th. And it'll go through the end of August 2019, which is said to be, 400 years from when the first slaves arrived in the United States of America in Virginia in 1690. It's supposed to be late August 1619. I think I just said 90 a second ago. 1619. And the 400 years and the slaves being taken to a foreign land, that's all biblical prophecy too. That's from Acts, the 5th book of the New Testament. But again, keep in mind, we're looking at the date August 11th, 2019. That's what I said in September. 2019 going to be a bad year. Really remember the date, August 11th, 2019. That's during the time of the Muslim pilgrimage, the Hajj. It's during the time of the Muslim Day of Sacrifice. It's also during the time of Tisha B'Av, which is the Jewish day associated with tragedy. So August 11th, really got my eye on that day. August 10th is probably worth watching too, because all of those festivals also fall on August 10th. So you just got to say, what are the odds of all of these things? I mean, just more and more, the more you look at it, the more it all lines up, the way it's being reported, what we've already been looking at. How can all of this be a coincidence? And again, I have no doubt that it's world governments, New World Order, the cabal that is behind all of this. Throughout the world, you have militaries researching disease and illness within insects. And they tell us that they're doing that as a means of protecting, civilization from an outbreak. But there's two sides to every coin. And you have to look at a continent like Africa and go, man, why does Africa get the brunt of everything? I mean, why is Africa so tormented? They get all these outbreaks and disease and illness. The same people who control world media, world government, constantly programming the people of the world, all corners of the globe, to hate black people, to fear black people. The black continent always under attack. I mean, really, all this stuff just a coincidence, huh? So here's the other thing about this building here. Using the alphabetic order, this great mosque, it has a gematria of 110. And the word prophecy is also 110. You have channels like Truth Unveiled saying this is real prophecy. I'd be real mindful of anyone who says that they're the second coming. And I'd also be real mindful of anybody who has no evidence for anything they're preaching, which is almost everyone in the truth community. So that's just the amazement to me. All these channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, no evidence for anything they say, speaking on hearsay, making bogus claims, and no evidence for any of it. Just talking from the behind. Meanwhile, I've been here for 5 years straight proving my points. Prophecy does have gematria of 110, like this site, but again, the people in high places are contriving prophecy and doing everything by a perfect plan. And don't forget the World Trade Centers. You know, their demise blamed on the man in the cave, Osama bin Laden and his 19 hijackers. 19. The World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall. And look at the name Osama bin Laden. Using the alphabetic order, 110, like how each World Trade Center 1 and 2 was 110 stories tall. And Building 7, the third tower to fall later that day, was 47 floors tall. 47 floors tall. Don't forget Osama bin Laden died 119 weeks after Obama took office. Osama. Barack Hussein Obama. The attacks blamed on Osama and Saddam Hussein in the U.S. 119 weeks after Obama takes office. 119, like how the date September 11th can be written. We get the story of Osama. And that was supposedly he was killed on May 2nd, 5-2, terrorist 52. President has the Gematria 52, Osama Obama. For another 119, look at the day they say Osama bin Laden's father died. They say his father died in a plane crash September 3rd, 1967. Comical, like the 93 World Trade Center bombing. September 3rd is the day that leaves 119 days left in the year. And what did I say? When I made the video in September, I said all of this stuff is a continuation of 9/11. It's all coordinated by the same code. It's the same numbers being recycled. So. And, you know, it's just a tragedy reading the comment section. You know, I put out this knowledge, and then every day the comments are bombarded with all these hateful people. I don't know where all these Christians come from that think they're supposed to hate other people. It's like, look, I'm not even religious. I'm not even a Christian, but I was raised a Lutheran. I know that as a Christian, you're not supposed to hate other people. You're supposed to turn the other cheek. I have the channel A Call for an Uprising trying to get me to collaborate with him now, which is real interesting. I mean, everybody knows the videos he made trying to slander me. But he really wants to work together now, he says. He says he's buried the hatchet and he wants to start promoting Gematria, but he wants to do it with me. The thing is, I can't work with A Call for an Uprising even if he wants to bury the hatchet because, I mean, he might have 400,000 subscribers and a big audience and get nearly 100,000 views a video. But I don't want to be, you know, alongside him listening to how he wants to beat up every person that doesn't believe in Jesus. Because that's pretty much what every video he makes is about. I was playing one of his videos asking my girlfriend if she thinks I should collaborate with him. And she was like, who is this person? He sounds like he's nuts. I was like, well, he's got a huge following. He's got nearly 500,000 subscribers. He wants to kill everybody who doesn't believe in Jesus. It's like, dude, have you read the Bible, man? Because Jesus was about turn the other cheek, which is also part of the reason I'm not religious, because I don't really think that's the right thing to do either. I think you keep turning the other cheek, you get beat down by the New World Order. Until you're all living in a slave state, getting lied to every day, you know, eating poison in your food. Been turning the cheek too long. But, you know, I'm not a violent person either. So we're in a tough spot as people. And I'm just communicating that, you know, you can just see how divided humanity is. You can see how the cabal's plan is working perfectly. I'm just trying to share truth and get people to see what's really going on, how we're all being lied to and divided. And people just want to come in and fill up my comments with, Muhammad's a pedophile. They're getting what they... It's like, okay, did you watch my video? I mean, that's not what I'm talking about here. So anyway, let's switch gears. Let's talk about more government. Florida governor to suspend Sheriff Scott Israel over Parkland massacre response, source says. This was yesterday's news, January 11th. And yesterday's date had 51 numerology, had the big 51 numerology yesterday. This suspension is over the way he handled the mass shooting, so we're told, at Parkland Stoneman Douglas High School. Mass shooting 51, governor 51, conspiracy 51. The word federal with the alphabetic order is 51. Governors definitely work with the federal government. The mass shootings of federal agenda. I noticed that from the Parkland shooting, which was Valentine's, February 14, 2018, to this news, was 331 days later. That's the 67th prime number. Florida is divided into 67 counties. 67 is the 19th prime number. This is happening at the beginning of 2019. 331 is also the reflection of 133. It's another government number. Government-related story. And also brought up why. Why do they really do this? Again, to remind us about what nearly happened a year ago. So we're told. Just to put it back in our head, you know. Don't forget the killer at Stoneman Douglas was said to be Nicholas Cruz, whose name equaled 67, like killer. 331, the 67th prime. I noticed also that from Ron DeSantis' birthday to the news was 119 days later. 17 weeks. They said 17 were killed. Fraternal Order of Police, 119. All-Seeing Eye, 119. Star of David, 119. Orthodox, 119. Ashkenazi Jews, 119. Don't forget what they said about the Stoneman Douglas shooting. They said the majority of victims killed were killed in room 1214, which is a lot like the date of the Sandy Hook shooting. And they said that was Holocaust remembrance class. And then David Hogg put out the book Never Again, which is the motto of the Holocaust and the Jewish Defense League. You know. And we all know what's going on in Florida. Might as well be Little Israel. I also noticed that DeSantis, the guy who said, you know, we don't want to monkey this up in regards to the black opponent he was running against. Isn't that nice that he's the governor down there, the guy that referred to his opponent as a monkey? So. Anyway, he had 111 birth numerology, and this story came on January 11th. Probably not a coincidence. And just a reminder about the other ciphers that are out there that are relevant. Valentine's Day is on the 45th day of the year in the septenary cipher. Parkland, Florida's 45. Valentine's Day is 45. Shout out to Marty Leeds. Marty Leeds is always trying to slander my work because he says there's only one cipher of the English language, and it's this cipher. He says this is the only cipher that matters. He says all other ciphers are bogus, which is just a really dumb argument because, I mean, in Hebrew, where this originally comes from, there's 14 commonly used ciphers. So you got to ask yourself, why in a system that's thousands of years old, where there's always been multiple ciphers in use, would there just be one for English? And why would it be this cipher, where you count up to 7 and then back down? I mean, it doesn't even make any sense, rather than the alphabetic order. So anyway, this is the cipher that Marty teaches, which is a relevant cipher. I always say that. I just say, you know, Marty doesn't want to be honest about the rest of the code. Marty's like a little boy. Also today, big news, the gas explosion in Paris. Paris, France, the land of Freemasonry. With the alphabetic order, gas leak is 56. Said this was due to a gas leak 56. They said 3 people were killed. If you write 3, 3 is 56. And if you write out Paris, France, also 56 using the alphabetic order and rules of numerology. So I see why they reported 3 dead. It's never an accident what they report. And we just had one of these stories very similar in Japan that was all by the numbers. Maybe 2-3 weekends ago. I don't know. Time's flying. Could have even been more than a month ago. I really do lose track of time doing this, you guys. I mean, every day I'm on the grind, just hoping that today's the day it's finally going to reach the masses. Let's get to work today. I mean, just every day. Get up, get to work. Sun goes down, time to go to bed. Get to work. I mean, I wish I could really see how many hours I've spent at this since I began in 2013. It has got to be an insane amount of time. And meanwhile, still hardly anybody cares. They'd rather tune into Fruity Pebbles, The Second Coming with no evidence. They'd rather turn into Retard from Boston. They'd rather turn into the guy who wants to beat up everybody who doesn't believe in Jesus. So, what are you going to do? I did predict that this would be the longest government shutdown. And today, January 12th, it set the record. Today is the 22nd day. The prior record was 21. And today, January 12th, 1/12, the proud owner of this shutdown is Donald Trump. And what's Donald equal when you flip the alphabetic order around? 112. 112. 112. Donald Trump putting a stamp on things. Again, that's just further proof that Donald Trump's nothing but a puppet. The whole government shutdown is planned, orchestrated chaos. The only day that CNN emphasized the day number of the shutdown was on January 9th. They called attention to the fact that it was the 19th day of the shutdown. Chaos 19. We're in 2019. The Masonic motto, order out of chaos. Donald Trump, the chaos candidate. So, a puppet on strings. Also today, you hear about Julian Castro, the ex-head of the HUD, federal government program. Julian Castro is announcing he's running for president. And just look at what's going on, you guys. It's just so obvious how all of this works. Donald Trump, he comes on the scene running for president, talking big noise, making racist statements about Mexicans. Mexicans are doing all the raping. Mexicans are responsible for the majority of the crime. Blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, news story pops up. Oh, illegal immigrant cross-border found FBI agent's gun on pier in San Francisco, picked it up and shot beautiful woman. I mean, how does that story even make sense? FBI agents are just leaving their guns around. Legal immigrant just strolls by. Oh, what's this here? I never seen one of these. Oh, whoops. We've covered all these stories since 2015. They're all crap. They're all news by the numbers. But anyway, Donald Trump Mexicans. And now what's going on, you know, with and Donald Trump versus Muslim women. And then just look at what's going on. You got did I say Muslim women? Donald Trump versus Muslims, you know, the Muslim ban and all that, which was foreshadowed in House of Cards. But you just see what's going on. You get your first female Muslims in Congress. You get this really young, somewhat attractive woman. What's her name? Ocasio-Cortez. And she's pretty much dominating all of the news political spectrum, except for when we hear about Trump right now. You get this guy, Julian Castro, Hispanic, now running against Trump. It's just such obvious theater and clearly orchestrated and just meant to divide all of the people that are programmed in this nation, who've been programmed to hate each other and hate certain groups. It's just such an obvious show to tear us apart. But again, it's all done by the numbers. Julian Castro, his name with the reduction cipher is 44. He used to work for the 44th president. He's 44 years old right now. Here, let me just type his name in here so you don't have to trust my math. I was doing everything by hand this morning because the calculator's down. Julian Castro, 44. You want to know what's interesting about the reverse? Oh, shoot. I don't think... Oh, maybe it is going to work. Oh, cool, it does. Barack Obama is 181. Like Julian Castro. That's if you use the Jewish cipher. 181, the 40... Oh, it is the 42nd prime. That part's not working. That's good that the other ciphers work. Wasn't sure that would happen. But anyway, He's 44. He worked for number 44. His name's 44. Donald Trump is number 45, but again, he's only the 44th person to be president. And remember, for people who don't know that, Grover Cleveland had a split term. Grover Cleveland was president, and then what's his name? Oh my goodness, I can't think right now. Then there was another president, and then Grover Cleveland was president again. So Grover Cleveland's two different numbers for president. You know, he had a split term. I think he was 22 and 24. I think it was Harrison who was in between him, 23. My mind's not working this morning. But anyway, because of that, the 25th president was the 24th person to be president, all the way up to the present. And with regards to birther, notice the word birther's 44. Remember how it all began? Obama was president. Trump got a lot of attention for bringing up the birther argument, 44. Trump ended up switching political parties, going from a lifelong Democrat to a Republican. Then he ended up becoming the 44th person to be president. After in 2011, Obama did the skit at the White House Correspondents' Dinner about Trump being the next president. They showed a little graphic with the White House lit up as a casino. For the other kicker here, from Julian Castro's birthday to today's announcement is his 119th day of his age. They sure like that number, don't they? 119. Don't forget Donald in Jewish Gematria. Donald in Jewish is 119, like how Donald Trump was announced as the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, November 9th. Also kind of like how his speech about the border and wall ended the other night at 9:11 p.m. sharp Eastern time. Just in case you missed the short video I put out, quick review. Diane Oxberry, BBC presenter, dead at 51. This is in today's news. She was born November 28th in the year 67. 67, the 19th prime. Now she's dead at the beginning of 2019. From her birthday to her date of death. Dead on her 44th day. Her 44th day, and reportedly dead from cancer with the alphabetic order. Cancer, chemo, and kill. All 44. The name Oxberry. Also 44, using the alphabetic order and rules of numerology. Cancer 44, chemo 44, kill 44, Oxberry 44. Diane Oxberry, notice the names 154 and 73. Look at ritual sacrifice, 154 and 73. Sacrifice alone, also 73. Fateful numbers that come up again and again. She was 51 years old, the conspiracy number. If you've been here since the beginning, you have seen me do hundreds of presentations of people in the media, the world of celebrity, dying in connection to 44 and their death blamed on cancer. Again and again. Just never ends. Award-winning BBC television and radio presenter Diane Oxberry has died from cancer, age 51. Her family has confirmed. And this hospital she died, Christie Hospital. Again, Masonry controls the world of hospitals too, you guys. Christie is 46. And that same cipher, sacrifice is 46. Christie Hospital, 83, 97. Look at the word murder. 83, like how the song Murder by Numbers came out in 83, and death is 97. For one last point, the date she died, January 10th. In the UK, that date's written 10/1, like 101. 101 is the 26th prime number. Cancer also does equal 26. So don't forget, BBC is 223, like how in Jewish Gematria Masonic is 223. Another celebrity death, Kevin Frett, rapper, shot to death in Puerto Rico, January 10th, 2019. His birthday was the 33rd day of the year. He didn't make it quite to his 25th birthday. He got his big break this year, or this past year, April 7th, 2018. and apparently was featured on a track of a popular Latin artist, Mike Duran, July 18th, 2018. This death happened January 10th, the date that can be written 1/10 like 110. Kevin Fred equals 110. So what a day for him to be killed, first of all. He died 23 days before his birthday on a date with 23 numerology. Fred is 23 when you flip the alphabetic order around. It's also a date with 49 numerology. Fred's 49. So this is a very specific day for him to die. You know, there's probably not a better date in the calendar year that he could die at. And this is what we see again and again. You know, he gets his big breakout and now he's dead. At least so we're told. Again, death does sell records. There's probably a whole lot more people who now are aware of Kevin Fred, including myself. I'd never heard of Kevin Fred before. Caller?
Yo, Zach, you busy?
What's up, man?
I got a little observation for you. Now, something that's obvious, but it's something I thought about. Now, first off, Patrick Mahomes just ended the first quarter with 112 yards passing.
That's perfect because Chiefs is 112, Andrew Luck's 112, yada 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 on January 12th.
Yeah. But what I'm doing is I'm gonna check it out and see if it's any good. I did the quarterback comparison for each one. Now, you know, Mahomes finished the regular season with 50 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, right?
Okay. Chiefs 50.
You know what that's significant for Brady? You remember Brady threw 50 touchdowns in 1 year, number 12, right?
Right.
And look at Andrew Luck, his season ended. He had 39. I mean, you might know about that, but what got me was he threw 15 picks throughout the season.
And Mahomes wears 15.
Yeah, so that's what I'm guessing the Chiefs will beat them, and then the Chiefs will lose to the Patriots. There's another reason why we think the Patriots gonna do. And then you look over there on the other side, the NFC side, Drew Brees, he only threw 5 picks. He only threw 5 picks the whole season.
Right.
In 15 games, but you know that 5, I got
15.
I put the 5 as you know Brady's got 5 Super Bowls.
Well, if you add 1 through 5 together, it equals 15.
So that goes to show something there too. Another thing too, that I look back at Deshaun Watson and all these. But basically, what I'm saying is, I'm looking at the quarterback comparison throughout the season. This is his playoffs. You got all that, you know, everything added up. You look at the regular season for the quarterback comparison. That was something for me. So I seen that.
Right.
Mahomes throwing 50 touchdowns and all this and that.
Right.
Brady's numbers, and then Andrew Luck got the Mahomes number.
Right.
I just thought that was kind of, you know.
Well, I appreciate it, friend. I'm in the middle of a live stream, but you just added to it, so I appreciate the call. Great observation. Keep it up.
All right, then, sir. You have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right.
I don't think he's watching this live stream. I think he just wanted to call in and let me know what he observed. You know, lots of people learning this Gematria and getting excited about it. Like I always say, the entire world of sports is a perfect script. You learn this code, you can see through it every single day. Patrick Mahomes plays for the Chiefs. He had a record 50 touchdowns this year for, you know, his first full season. He had 112 passing yards on January 12th at the end of the first quarter. It's just clockwork in the NFL the way they script these games. And he's going up against Andrew Luck today, another 112. So it's not an accident these teams are playing on this day. Again, this knowledge applies to so many things. You can just see through the entire world of scripted media. And, there's a few other things about this Kevin Fred death, but this is really the big part here, that just this man was murdered, apparently gunned down, killed at 5:20 a.m. Okay, I see what's up with that, because Kevin Fred's 52, and his big breakout was I'm Like This. That was his song. Also has that 52. So. Also, follow up on Ed Buck. We covered the parallels the other day between the deaths of the 2 black men in his home, both dead on Mondays, both dead on dates with 27 numerology. Ritual equals 27, Monday equals 27, overdose equals 103, the 27th prime. They came out January 10th and said that the man who died was named Timothy Dean, and he was 55 years old. So, news broke January 10th. Notice Timothy Dean's 55. In Gematria, 55 years old. Sacrifice, 55. Blood sacrifice equals 257, which is the 55th prime number. And in light of the news of his name being released January 10th, 1/10, Timothy, also 110. Timothy has fateful Gematria, 38, 79, and 34, like murder as well. So, don't think that was any accident there. Timothy Dean's also 163, the 38th prime. That's why you want to know the ciphers. You can see through the riddles very clearly. Also, yesterday I had a really weird moment. When I'm doing my daily decodes, I'll look at this page. If you just do a web search and type in deaths in the year, deaths in 2019, so that's the year we're in now. It's a Wikipedia page, and they just compile all of the deaths that come through the media. They compile all these deaths. And yesterday when I loaded up, there weren't any for the 11th yet. It was early. But let's see. This list has gotten a lot longer since I looked at it last. But yesterday when I was looking at it, I usually have music playing in the morning when I'm decoding. And I happened to have the song Floaters Float On. That's what was playing right when I loaded up the page. And, you know, this death was just right there staring me in the face. Larry Cunningham. If you've never heard the song Float On by the Floaters, it's a great song. I'm sure you'll like it no matter what you listen to. But as you listen to the song, I bet you if you never listened to it before, each man who sings, they introduce their name and their astrological sign. And I just bet if you listen to the song, it's going to be Larry who stands out the most to you. So notice Larry's 67. Again, 67 is the 19th prime. It's the blood sacrifice number. It was so weird. I mean, it was just so weird to have that happen. That song being playing at the moment, and then it being him who died. Blood Sacrifice also has the Gematria 76, and that song came out in 76. You know, they're from Detroit. They're from Motown. Motown by the numbers. Float On was a monster when it came out. Everybody was listening to this song all across the world. So, and it's still the hit. So anyway, RIP to Larry Cunningham. I could not find his birthday anywhere, so I can't do a proper decode, but just him dying at 67, you know, that jumps. And the day he died was a date with 49 numerology. 49, Larry Cunningham equals 227, the 49th prime. He's got 79 and 83 like murder. So his name has some fateful gematria. Cunningham's also 49 too. And oh no, I'm wrong, you guys. He didn't die on a date with 49 numerology. Excuse me. He died on a date with 50 numerology. His last day alive was a date with 49 numerology, but Cunningham is also 50. So, by the way, Float On's 83, like Larry Cunningham. All of them are good, but if you listen, you're going to see Larry's the guy who's going to stand out to you. I guarantee it. Another death here in recent days. This was just brought to my attention by our resident Raider fan, Darrell. He said, can you look into the death of George Atkinson's son? Apparently he died on New Year's Eve. And every year we see these deaths on New Year's Eve. Clockwork. The son's dead at 25. Dead at 25. Dead Christmas Eve. Couldn't find a lot of information on his birthday, but death and time have that Gematria 25. He's dead right there at the end of the year. New Year's Eve's all about time. And December 31st, 12 plus 31 is 43. killing Masonic football. They're all 43 too. Son of a former football player of the Oakland Raiders. So I have to get more information to do a better decode. Another story that emerged yesterday was hazing-related death at a sorority. We talked about the overlap with hazing and death before. And isn't it just weird how these things become our culture? It's like, why? Why are we this way? I mean, I know some people have fun in hazing, but it's like, is this necessary? I mean, why? Anyway, all throughout the world, some people have fun with hazing, and for some people, it's not the end of the world. But you just know every day it crushes people. They get humiliated. It creates this scarring memory. They have to live with it the rest of their life, like a internal wound in their mind. And I don't know if this story is true or not, but I have no doubt that people have committed suicide over hazing, and live with like unnecessary anguish because of going through hazing. The woman who died, her name's Jordan Hankins. What jumped out about her name to me was the 213. 213. That's the number of death in the Satanic cipher. So I just thought interesting that her name has that. She's a black woman. Black History Month's also 213. Racism in Jewish Gematria is 213. If you haven't seen my work on when LeBron James' house got spray painted with the N-word and the 213 area code in LA right before his 213th playoff basketball game, you should go back and check that out. You might also recall days later, Derek Fisher, basketball player, flipped his car drunk driving. It was another 213 ritual. They've done this number with Tiger Woods in racism-related things. So I couldn't get enough information about the sorority if it was, predominantly black woman, but just a number that jumped out in light of it being a black female. So her name also does have the 113 gematria, so know about that number. The sorority that she was in, the 121 jumps because blood sacrifice is also 121. Reportedly, she committed suicide. We got another story here of a second female police officer shot. We covered the last one on Thursday. Then yesterday, second story. In case you missed the first one was in Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, and the woman's name had that gematria of 199, the 46th prime. Sacrifice equals 46 and 62, so it was interesting her name had that. 64 corresponds with kill, as does 44. So this woman had some fateful numbers in her name. And then one day later, second female police officer killed. This time it's Natalie Corona, 22. And what jumped out right away is that her name had the 79 gematria, murder 79, and 79 is the 22nd prime. And Natalie Corona is also 223, special number 2 Freemasonry. Corona's 33 like police, like masonry, like secrecy, like order, 96 like Freemason. Natalie's also got the 62 and 46. Sacrifice, the other officer had these numbers coded into her name. So definitely some parallels there. Another death in the news. Jumping Johnny Wilson to the Harlem Globetrotters. He lived to 91, reportedly died yesterday, and couldn't find his birthday, so all I can say is Harlem's in New York, January 11th, 1/11, like 111 with the alphabetic order. New York is 111. Basketball game is 111. And again, he was a Harlem Globetrotter, so there is an organic side to the code. I mean, it's possible. It's possible that just worked out that way, but just makes me wonder. The other year, there were a couple deaths of, maybe it's been a few years now, There were a couple deaths of Harlem Globetrotters at age 89. Notice Harlem Globetrotters is 89. And there's their theme song. I can't whistle, but you probably know it. Sweet Georgia Brown, also 89. Ah, look at that. Sweet Georgia Brown is 91 too. Just like how this guy just died at 91 on 111. I didn't catch that before. Huh. 253 is, oh, it's not going to work. 253 is the 22nd triangular number. Basketball, that's the Gematria 22. Harlem Globetrotters wasn't 91 in reverse, was it? No, it's not. 109. Kind of like 19 digits and 9 and 1. But yeah, that was another death yesterday. You guys might have caught this Google Doodle yesterday for Earl Scruggs. Every time I look at a Google Doodle, who it's in tribute to, there's always the murder numbers surrounding these people. His birthday was January 6th. He died March 28th. He died on his 83rd day of his age. Murder 83. Murder by numbers in 83. Telling you, you don't want to be involved in this world of celebrity. It's a death sentence. TMZ had this today. I can't do much of a decode here because they don't even know what day she necessarily died. But apparently Steve Buscemi just lost his wife at 30 years. Not a lot of details. They had a quiet, private funeral at the home. TMZ speculated that she might have died Monday. It's a maybe. If she did die Monday, that was 25 days after his birthday. Again, death is 25, so is time. And the thing about January 7th, if she did die that day, Steve, as in Steve Buscemi, Steve's 17. Buscemi's also 27, like how Monday's 27. January 7th, 19. 1 plus 7 plus 19 was a date with 27 numerology. If she really died Monday, she probably was sacrificed for Steve Buscemi. And even if she didn't really die Monday, that's probably still the case because we see this all the time in the world of celebrity. Murder by numbers. That song. It's the way to get to the top of your profession, killing people. That's what that song says. Steve Buscemi's done a lot of Hollywood movies. How about this story? You guys get this one today? Out of this world. Our galaxy is due for a catastrophic collision, study says. And this story comes today, January 12th, 2019. It's a date with 25 numerology. Galaxy with the most pure ciphers, 25. So we get a story about our galaxy. You know, it's due for the big collision. What do they call it? The Milky Way. Milky Way's got that gematria of 119. But, you know, just like how perfect. A story about the galaxy on a fitting day, just like it is every day. Here, let me just read this to you, how due we are. While astronomers estimate that the Andromeda galaxy will collide with our Milky Way galaxy 8 billion years from now, they now believe that another collision will happen even sooner. Are you guys ready? The Large Magellanic Cloud will catastrophically, sorry, I forgot how to read for a moment, catastrophically collide with the Milky Way in 2 billion years. Man, I mean, just like, okay, how much money was spent on this study? Again, we're given, you know, this isn't NASA, but I know that we give NASA nearly $60 million a day. If the threats are this far off, can we start focusing on something more immediate here? You know, I remember as a child, they would say, like, we need NASA in case, like, someday some great space catastrophe is going to come and they could save the whole world. It's like, okay, well, if this is the nearest catastrophe 2 billion years from now, let's talk about the more immediate future. All the people suffering right now, all the addicts, all the people locked up, all the people low skills, low education, out of work. Man, if I had $60 million a day, what we give to NASA, to start cleaning up some problems, Tell you what, we'd get some things done. Telling you guys. That's all of our wealth being spent every day, by the way, people. Talking to the people who don't have $5 for my book. NASA gets $60 million a day. Man, if I had $60 million, I would do big things for the rest of my life with $60 million. Can't imagine squandering it every single day. Goodness. Woo! $2 billion, 2 billion years, whatever. Goodness. Last night, looking for a movie to watch, and I saw this one. It popped up, 222. I said, oh, I got to check out 222. And if you have Amazon, I hate promoting Amazon, but if you have it, if you have their streaming service, it's on there. And if you turn on this movie, I didn't watch much of it. I was too tired. I just went to bed after watching like 10 minutes, but you just have to watch the first few minutes. Right in the beginning, what are they talking about? Order out of chaos. It probably happens in the first 5 minutes. Order out of chaos. And order out of chaos. Notice when you flip the alphabetic order around 222, some of the opening dialogue of the film. This film released June 30th, 2017, a date with 19 numerology, chaos in our most pure ciphers 19. The date June 30th is the 181st day of the year. That was a Friday that it came out, meaning over the weekend was July 2nd, the 183rd day of the year. That was the Sunday that year. Look at Order Out of Chaos with the alphabetic order, 183. So they released this movie on a date with chaos numerology, and they released movies on Friday. So they released it as close to the 183rd day of the year as they could that year. And July 2nd, 2017 was also a date with 19 numerology. So you see how they did that? Yeah. That's why I said look out for 2019. The people who control this world, it's all about order out of chaos. By the way, this film's about an air traffic controller, airplanes, 19 hijackers. I'm just saying. Yesterday, what was funny is I loaded up this tab for CNN. In the morning when I'm doing my decodes, I'll just pop open a bunch of tabs of stories that look interesting that I'll start decoding. And when I loaded up the tab, it was 74 direct effects of the partial government shutdown, right? And I was decoding some other stuff before I got to this tab. So by the time I got to it, when I loaded up the screen, it did like the refresh, and then it was 77 direct effects of the partial government shutdown. I said, oh, how perfect. They go from 74 to 77. 74 is the big Masonic number. 77 is the big Washington, D.C. number. Again, D.C. on the 77th meridian. By the way, well, here, I'll finish making this point, then I'll say what I'm going to say. D.C. on the 77th meridian. Don't ever forget what they did on 9/11. Flight 77 hit the 77-foot-tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian 77 minutes after taking off. September 11th in Gematria equals 77. So does World Trade Center. So does United States. Special number there, 77. But with regards to the 74, don't forget that the World Trade Centers were on the 74th meridian, These numbers. So, and by the way, this story was on January 11th, which also reminded me of September 11th because September 11th is the day leaving 111 days left in the year. Donald Trump gave his speech ending at 9:11 p.m. on January 8th. CNN had this updated ticker time when I was looking at this at 1:19 p.m. Eastern time. I was just like, come on. People like their numbers too much. Another story I saw in the headlines today. This is today, January 12th. Jamal Khashoggi's back. How a hacked phone may have led to killers to Khashoggi. And from the day that this international news story began, which was October 11th, that's when Bob Corker came out and said that he believes Saudi Arabia had killed this journalist for the Washington Post. That was a date with 59 numerology. Jamal Khashoggi was said to be 59 years old. Jamal Khashoggi, 59 years old. number that persisted throughout the story. In Hebrew and in English, Freemasonry is 59. Anyway, from the day that the story broke to this news today, I noticed was 93 days later. Number that has to do a lot with time. Saturn, the keeper of time. Saturn symbolized with 93. Saturn connected to death and judgment. The number that's often paired with 93 when they code things is 54. Hacked phone equals 54. The reason that is because the word sun equals 54, and they say the sun is 93 million miles away too. So it's like tributes to time, the way they contrive these and always bring these numbers together, 93 and 54. They might even be going for some Islam angle here too. You know, Saudi Arabia, Muslim state. So, comes at the same time the locusts are all over Mecca. By the way, another shout out to Darrell. He won't see this because he doesn't watch my longer videos. Darrell's always crying now. He's like, why do you make your videos so long? You can't watch these long videos. I say, well, you just got to watch them if you want to watch them. But he called me up the other day. He's like, have you ever thought about the name Rothschild? I was like, what are you saying? Like Rothschild? Is that what you mean? He's like, yeah. He's like, what's the word Roth mean? And I'd never looked this up. So he'll just call me up sometimes and have these thoughts that are pretty brilliant. So I was like, well, let's look it up. Let's look up what Roth means. He's like, it's got to be something. What the child of Roth? What's it mean? So, and excuse me if I talked about this the other day. Maybe I did. I'm tired, but anyway, if I did, who cares? We'll talk about it again. Look at what the word Roth means. The spilling of blood from the warrior class of ancient Germanic soldiers. And just think about that. The Rothschilds, they're the banker family, you know, the instigators of wars for agenda, you know, connected to the Balfour Declaration about delivering the Zionist state of Israel, written during World War I. The spilling of blood from the warrior class. Ethnic name for an Anglo-Saxon derived from the meaning of red. Well, that makes sense in light of blood. Red-haired people. A dweller in such a location. Local name for the 18th century Ashkenazi refugees to Germany. Think about Germany, how Germany was used for the agenda. World Wars. So Roth's child, the children of spilling blood. By the way, the name Roth has that Gematria 47 too, that number that's also special to Freemasonry. Number connected to God, and no doubt these cultist banker tyrants playing God over the masses, using this knowledge that most people don't have a clue about. Look up the date of the Balfour Declaration, November 2nd, about delivering the Zionist state. Zionist 112 with the alphabetic order, November 2nd, 11-2. Judaism, when you flip the alphabetic order around 112. And let's just see if Gematrinator's back up yet. Nope. Huh, look at Darrell. There's Darrell right there. He's probably doesn't even know this is happening right now, but Darrell is who I'm talking about with the Rothschild thing. Funny the way life is. Another synchronicity. But yeah, Gematrinator getting censored by the numbers today. You know, giving it the old Sandy Hook treatment. It's literally down today because Derek had a picture of something that the Sandy Hook community claimed to copyright on. For all the people out there that want to censor us, you guys are not helping yourselves by censoring us. You're only going to bring more legitimacy to this. I mean, just look. Nobody takes us seriously for the most part. Everyone thinks this is like some kooky conspiracy theory, that we're all, you know, tinfoil hat, psychopaths with schizophrenia. You guys keep censoring us. They're just going to start going, well, wait a minute. Why would they do that if they're so crazy? Why would they do that if all this was nonsense? So And Jonathan, all of a sudden today, realized that all of a sudden he can't load my blog either. So the censorship is real. If anybody wants to phone in today, the number is 509-731-0567. It's the Gematria hotline, 509. Oh, we got a caller. What's up, caller?
Hey, guys. Hey, I agree, man. Just like with the whole FBI thing. Thank you, guys. Keep censoring us. Because all this does is inspire us up more to spread this, and it just gives us more ammunition. Like we don't have enough already.
Well, apparently we don't have enough because so many people are still neglecting this research. But yeah, I know. So.
Hey, so last night I was listening to your decode on the games, and I was just looking for clues. So I had the TV on. Did you catch this commercial with Jayme Lynch?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so I sent you the link. Anyways, do you remember when you covered the story on Cleveland? The dude with the looked like some guy in an office, and he had all these numbers and things. I don't know if he was connected 216, but remember the red yarn, all the stuff that he had.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that. You
got to check this Jayme Lynch thing. They're doing the same thing, brother. She's using all this red yarn, and it's just connecting all the players and the teams in the commercial. And the thing that's funny is, at the end of the commercial, it has a hashtag for the NFL. It's got the NFL's big logo, and then it says hashtag. I'm trying to remember what it was. Hashtag celebration of the year. And celebration of the year, when you put it in the calculator, when it's working, it equals 99 in reduction. I mean, it's just funnier now, man.
So for people who don't know, the red yarn is a symbol from Kabbalah, the invisible red thread that connects all things in this world. And again, Kabbalah is where this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from. How do you spell the girl's name?
She's that broad kind of I don't know, the one that. Well, you remember that show Glee?
Glee?
You remember the show Glee?
I never watched it.
It was a musical show.
Okay.
She was the phys ed teacher.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember. She's really kind of loudmouth, you know. I don't know. I don't want to say it on here, but I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I think if you know what I'm talking about. Just look that up. It's just Google Jayme Lynch NFL TV commercial, and it'll come up, man. And you'll see the same thing. They're doing the same thing. She's got the red yarn, you know, all strung out everywhere. She's got all these different pictures of players from the Rams, and you know, a bunch of players from, you know, the Patriots and the Chiefs, and yeah, it's just so in your face, dude. When you know this language, you can see what they're doing. And it's just amazing that you were able to figure this out, man. And it's just led us to other things like this.
Right. Okay. Is it called Get Ready to Celebrate?
Yeah, it's all about, I think they want you to go on there and look and see who I guess they allowed celebrations back in the NFL. So they want the goalie to vote on, you know, what team had the best touchdown celebration, you know. But you see what they're doing, though, in the commercial, though. It's obvious. You know, I thought it was funny, too, when I looked her up. She's got a July 14th birthday, so how appropriate.
Right.
July 14th birthday with the NFL.
Right.
The first Sunday, the Super Bowl Sunday, 147 days, just like the 7/14 birthday.
Well, what else it makes me think of is 22 is the master builder number, and master builder equals 147, like how there's 22 men on the football field. And this whole Kabbalah thing originally goes back to Hebrew, which has 22 letters and is considered the master builder alphabet. So, yeah, it really goes together.
Yeah, you'll get a kick out of that when you watch it. I just saw that last night. I'm like, what the hell are they doing here, you know? It's
Right.
It's obvious. They put in quotes, too. made the best celebration win. I think when you write that out, it's 106, like prophecy. But yeah, I don't know what else they were trying to show us there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, man. That red thread showed back up again.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna have to tip people off to watching that and the LeBron James thing with the 22, which was one of the best I ever saw. Yeah, that was from July 22nd, 2018 that ESPN did that. All right, great call, man.
I'll see you later, Dad.
All right, take care. So for anybody out there who doubts that sports are scripted by this code, watch this right here. The number 22 in Cleveland sports. This debuted on the 22nd of July. It's about how the entire history of Cleveland sports is centered around the number 22, and you just watch it. It's like from The Beautiful Mind. He's got the red thread all over the place. Again, that's Kabbalah. Kabbalah says, the world is connected by an invisible red thread, or it's symbolic in Kabbalah. And again, that's where this whole code of letters and numbers and dates in the calendar year comes from. You got to watch this skit right here. I remember when I saw this, I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, the mocking. And don't forget that basketball, in light of this thing being about LeBron James and how LeBron James is going to return to Cleveland in 2022, King with the reverse alphabetic order is 22, basketball is 22. So, and I'm going to have to watch this latest skit, but caller's just saying it's the same thing that they're doing here. Another thing with the red thread in sports. So they're putting it in your face. There's also a show out there called Touch. Touch is about how the whole world is connected by numbers. And the intro music credits, it starts with the red thread along the bottom of the screen. So all right, you guys, if nobody else wants to call in, we can wrap it up there for today. I'll be back with the normal podcast Monday through Friday. Oh, we do have another caller. Hey, what's going on, man?
So with regards to Scott Israel being suspended 331 days after the shooting last year, which occurred on Valentine's Day, well, today is also a span of 2,221 days after the Sandy Hook shooting, right?
So yesterday when this happened would have been 2,220 days then.
Right, but what I find interesting is if you include the end date is 2221 today, and 2221, 2,221 is the 331st prime.
Oh, wow.
Like how Scott Israel was suspended after 331 days.
Huh, that's interesting.
I thought that was interesting. Also, I noticed that if the University of Connecticut, if they lose today, their head coach can get 112 loss today, with today being the whole 1-1-2 riddle.
Right.
Sandy Hook and all that. So it's just crazy how everything is so synced up. But
great observations.
Just wanted to point that out.
Appreciate it, friend.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good one. Take care, man. All right. Well, we've been going for like an hour and a half or something. We can wrap it up here, Truth Seeker. We will be back Monday. All right, until next time.